We're on Ocracoke Island again today, and we are here at the pony pens. So hundreds of years ago, Spanish ships and merchants crashed here onto Ocracoke, and their horses, some of them ran wild and some of them were used in the town in carts and things. And so these are said to be descendants of those wild Mustangs. And here on the Outer Banks, up on the North Beach, there are about 100 wild horses that run free, and I hope to put some video in for you there. We try to do a horse tour every year, and these guys behind me are descendants of those same horses. So they are smaller, they have fewer vertebrae in their backs, which are the bones in their backs. Their tails sit really low down, which helps them to move fast. These horses here, there are 3 here today that I can see. I'm not really sure how many are here all together. There's no one that is here working or anything, that you can talk to. So we just go with what we see. This is one of the stops on Ocracoke that we always try to do. So today I'm gonna read Red Feather. So when I was up in Corolla, and we went on the wild horse tour, I got this in the gift shop there, and I love the wild horses, and I hope you do too. So some words we need to talk about before we start are stallions, which are boy horses who are grown-ups, and then mares, which are female horses, girl horses, and then colts, which are babies. So you're going to hear those words in this story, and I hope you enjoy it. The wild horses are one of my favorite things about the Outer Banks, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Corolla Wild Horses. Keep them wild and free. And this is by Linda Whittington Hurst, and it's illustrated by Aaron Castile. And the pictures are beautiful. Red Feather was a wild horse. He lived with his herd on the island called the Outer Banks near the town of Corolla. He was a mahogany bay, and he was beautiful, except for the one thing. Half of his ear was missing. He lost it in a fight with another wild stallion. So the herd has several different harems. So those are groups of horses, and so each harem has a stallion, which is a boy, and several mares. Everyone on the island said that Red Feather was the wildest stallion in the herd. Some even nicknamed him Crazy Horse. Can you guess why? But Red Feather wasn't crazy. He just liked adventure. Red Feather was very smart. He was also very curious. He was not afraid of people at all. He could not resist going into the yards and eating the tasty green grass. He especially loved to nibble on flowers. But nothing was more fun than tipping over the trash in cans on garbage day. This made lots of people mad. They chased him out of their yard, shouting, "Go away, you garbage thief!" So like we talked about, up in the North Beach, up in Corolla, the herd right now is about 100 horses. And so several years ago, we're talking about 35 years ago, they would come all the way into town. And they would be in people's houses and trash cans and things, and you'll see some other places in the story. And so the Wild Horse Fund was established because the horses were getting ran over and hurt and eating things they shouldn't eat and get bloated and sick. So they started to help the horses. So they built fences, and so they have thousands and thousands and thousands of acres to roam up there on the beach and in the marshes, but the fences are there to help keep them safe. So you're going to hear about the fences too, and some fun things that the horses do. Eating morsels out of garbage cans gave Red Feather his first taste of apples. Red Feather loved apples. Sometimes the children would toss them to him. Whenever Red Feather saw children, he looked for apples. One day, he followed some children into a supermarket. When the children came out of the market eating apples, Red Feather learned a lesson. Apples came from supermarkets, not kids. Uh-oh, this could be bad. After that day, Red Feather was a regular supermarket customer. When the automatic door opened, Red Feather rushed inside. Then he zigzagged through the store, bypassing the men who tried to shoo him away while the customers laughed. "Why, if I didn't know better," the managers say, "I'd think that horse has a smile on its face." So Red Feather was a real horse, and he was a real stallion. He had his own harem with mares, and he would go into the supermarket and steal apples. And so this is one of the stories that they love to tell up there. Red Feather was making a name for himself in Corolla. Both the locals and the tourists loved him. He enjoyed the attention they gave him, as long as they didn't come too close. He loved his home in Corolla, but sometimes he longed to see other places. One morning, Red Feather decided to take a trip. He rounded up his family of mares and headed north. Everything was grand until they came to a tall fence that blocked the way. So that's the fence we were talking about. Red Feather snorted in disgust. When he reared high and pawed the air with his hoofs, he trotted up and down the fence line, looking for an opening, but there was none. Still, Red Feather would not give up. There had to be a way around this fence. So there's a fence right at the top of the North Beach, and then there's a fence all the way at the Virginia line. Like I said, it's thousands and thousands of acres. And I believe they said 30-something miles on the beach. An adventure was calling him. He trotted along the fence until he came to the place where the land ended and the ocean began. So there's that fence, and it goes all the way out into the ocean. And there in Corolla, you can see, the North Carolina side. Stopping at the water's edge, he looked back at his mares. Would they follow him into the scary water? Do you think that horses can swim? Let's find out. Luckily, horses can swim. Red Feather did not dilly-dally. He plunged into the surf, his mares right behind him. The waves were strong, but Red Feather was determined. Around the fence they swam. They scrambled up on the other side and shook themselves dry. Red Feather sniffed the air. "Let's go," he whinnied. "Adventure awaits." The little band followed Red Feather as he traveled across the narrow land bridge into Virginia. They had not gone far when they were surprised by some people on the beach. Although they were wild horses, they were used to the tourists on the beach of Corolla during the summertime. And thankfully, we do get to see them sometimes on the beach up there. Soon, they found a patch of sea oats. Munching and crunching, they forgot about the people on the beach until, vroom, vroom, all the horses had seen cars and trucks before, but this one was very different. It had a big boxy thing attached to it. What do you think that might be? The truck stopped a short distance from the horses. Men got out of the truck. Red Feather was not afraid, but his eyes followed them everywhere they went. So he is cautious, isn't he? So he's seen cars and trucks before on the beach. He wasn't too worried, but he was watching because there was that big boxy thing. What do you think that might be? The men did not come toward the horses. Instead, they started setting up a corral. So a corral is like a big way to catch any animal, really. When the corral was finished, the man surrounded the horses and drove them into the corral and then into the trailer. Although Red Feather was annoyed, he didn't put up much of a fight. Here was going to be a new adventure. At first, all the horses were scared, but they soon discovered that riding in that trailer was kind of fun. They traveled for what seemed like a long time before the truck finally stopped. Red Feather sniffed the air. It smelled very familiar. Pine trees and salty sea scents. They were home. So now they're back in Corolla, right? So they went around the fence into Virginia. They caught them and they brought them back. After that adventure, Red Feather and his band became regulars on the Virginia side of the fence. But every time they went to Virginia, the men with the trailer came and carried them back across to Corolla. This did not stop Red Feather's adventures. Instead, with each trip, Red Feather began to get smarter. He soon learned that while the men unloaded the corral panels, he and his mares had plenty of time to escape. This game had become very fun. Of all the mares in his band, which is his harem, his group, Cinnamon was his very favorite. One brisk April morning, Cinnamon appeared with a newborn colt. Red Feather pranced and kicked up his heels. He nuzzled his new little colt, and then he trotted around the dunes proudly. The colt grew very fast and was smart and quick, just like his daddy. But he looked just like his mama. So there he is. And we were so glad that this year we got to see one of the baby colts named Doe. As the days grew short and cool, food became very scarce. Red Feather remembered the sea oats on the other side of the fence. He decided to take his family north again. There were now 5 mares in the band, and each mare had their own little colt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then each one has their own baby. Luckily, even little colts can swim. This time, Red Feather pushed his band north farther and farther than before. They traveled to the village of Sandbridge looking for their food. Instead of dirt paths, there were hard paved roads. So they've gone farther than they did the last time. Cars in the Sandbridge were not used to having horses walk across the road. In the screech of tires, the colt dropped to the ground. It was Cinnamon's baby. That tiny little colt was writhing in pain and had a large gash on its hip. Red Feather jumped into action. He raced to help his colt, teeth bared and ears flattened against his head. The people in the car climbed out to see what had happened, but with this wild stallion standing guard, no one dared approach the little colt. So what happened? Oh, because they were somewhere they weren't supposed to be, the little colt got hit with a car, didn't it? Soon a man and a woman arrived with the big horse trailer. They unloaded the fence panels and built a portable corral. This time, Red Feather did not try to escape. When the corral was finished, he gingerly stepped over his colt and drove the mares into the pen. Then he allowed the man to touch his baby and dress the colt's wounds. That night, the trailer carried Red Feather and his mares away, but the little colt was left behind. Red Feather knew that the baby needed help from the humans, but he still wanted to be with him. Inside the trailer, he kicked and he fought, but he could not escape. He would have to wait until he got back to Corolla. So what happened? The baby got hurt, didn't it? It got hit by a car because, you know, a lot of places horses aren't supposed to be out where people are. He got hit by the car, and they came and helped, and they put Red Feather and all the mares back into the trailer. All night he stayed awake, pacing up and down, trying to decide what to do. Before the sun rose the next morning, Red Feather swam around the ocean fence one more time. He had to find his baby. When Red Feather arrived at the accident site, there was no sign of his son, or the trailer, or the men, or the women. Red Feather pranced up and down the highway, looking for clues. By sundown, Red Feather stood with his head hanging down, and he snickered sadly. The baby's gone, isn't it? He thought he'd go back and try to find it to try to help it, but the baby's gone. He was about to start back home when he heard the familiar sound of the noisy truck barreling down the beach. He went in and he trotted up to meet the truck. After the truck stopped, the man and the woman got out. "Did you come back to check on your baby?" the woman asked. Red Feather nickered. He was so happy. "We'll take you to see him," the man said. At the veterinary clinic, Red Feather followed the shrill whinny to one of the horse pens. "Just look," said the woman. "Red Feather's happy to see his new baby." And he really was. The stallion sniffed his colt from head to hoof just to make sure that he was all right. So they did help him, didn't they? They found the baby and they helped it. "I think you've had enough adventure," said the woman, smiling. Red Feather neighed and nodded his head, and he never swam around the ocean fence again. So here's a picture of the real Red Feather. Sorry, I just bumped you. So there he is. You can see they're pretty big little ponies, aren't they? We call them bankers here. That's what they call them, banker ponies. And they are a different size, but that's the real red feather. And there was a red feather that was a dad, and the red feather the baby. And the baby is more of this story of what really happened. So I hope you like this book. I hope you get to come see either the wild ponies on the North Beach or the wild ponies here at Ocracoke sometime. I hope you like this book. I'll see you later. I love you. Bye.
Except they really can't cross because there's a lot of tourists coming through here. Is there anybody behind me?
Not for a while.
One on your right.
Oh, look at all them back legs bent. See them?
Oh, yeah.
They're all napping.
Yeah, we got a place view right here on the right. Oh my gosh, that is...
That's close.